It started as an ordinary evening when Emily Carter stopped by a small neighborhood supermarket on her way home, thinking only about the few items she needed before calling it a day. The sky outside was fading into a dull gray, and the streetlights had just begun to flicker on, casting long shadows across the empty road. She parked her car, grabbed her bag, and walked inside without a second thought, completely unaware that this simple, routine stop would soon turn into something she would keep thinking about long after that night ended. The moment she stepped inside, a strange feeling settled over her, subtle but impossible to ignore. The store was unusually quiet, far quieter than it should have been at that hour, with only a few scattered shoppers moving slowly between the aisles. The fluorescent lights above buzzed faintly and flickered now and then, creating brief moments where the entire space seemed to dim before returning to normal. It wasn't dark, but something about the lighting made everything feel colder, less welcoming. Emily grabbed the cart and began walking through the store, trying to focus on her shopping list instead of the uneasy feeling building inside her. As she passed the dairy section, she noticed a man standing stiffly near the refrigerators, gripping his basket tightly as he repeatedly glanced over his shoulder like he was expecting someone or something to be behind him. At the front counter, a cashier was speaking quietly on the phone, her voice low and shaky, her eyes darting toward the aisles as if she was worried about what might be happening further inside the store, brushing off her growing unease. Emily made her way toward aisle 3, telling herself she was just overthinking things. But the moment she stepped into the aisle, she felt an immediate shift in the atmosphere. The air was noticeably colder, and it felt heavier somehow, like the space itself was pressing down on her. She paused for a moment, looking around carefully. But everything seemed normal at first glance. Rows of neatly stacked products, silent shelves, and no one else in sight. As she walked a little further, her eyes fell on something out of place. Several items were scattered across the floor, boxes knocked over, packages torn open, and a glass jar shattered into pieces with its contents smeared across the tiles. It didn't look like a simple accident. It looked rushed, chaotic, like someone had been startled or forced to leave in a hurry. Yet there was no one around, and the silence in the aisle felt deeper than anywhere else in the store. Then she heard it, a faint, dragging sound that seemed to cut through the silence like a whisper. It was slow and uneven, like something heavy being pulled across the ground. Emily froze where she stood, her breath catching in her throat as she tried to locate where it was coming from. The sound wasn't loud, but in the stillness of the aisle, it felt disturbingly clear, echoing softly from somewhere deeper between the shelves. Her heart began to pound as she quickly turned around, expecting to see someone behind her, but the aisle was completely empty. Still, the sound didn't stop. It continued faintly, scraping, pausing, then starting again, as if whatever was making it was moving slowly, deliberately. Swallowing her fear, she took a few cautious steps forward and called out, "Hello." But her voice sounded distant, almost swallowed by the air itself, as though it couldn't travel properly in that space. As she gathered the courage to move further down the aisle, a loud crash echoed from another part of the store, breaking the silence instantly. The sudden noise sent a jolt through her, and within seconds, the entire atmosphere shifted from quiet unease to chaos. Employees rushed past her, their faces pale and tense, urgently telling customers to leave everything behind and head for the exit immediately without asking questions. A security guard ran toward aisle 3, moving quickly at first as if ready to handle whatever was happening. But the moment he reached the entrance of the aisle, he suddenly stopped. His body stiffened, and he stood completely still, staring ahead at something Emily couldn't see. There was a strange pause, as if time itself had slowed down, And for a few seconds, no one moved or spoke. Panic began to spread throughout the store as shoppers abandoned their carts and hurried toward the exit, their footsteps echoing loudly now in contrast to the earlier silence. Emily followed them, her pace quick but uncertain, her mind racing with questions. Yet just before she left the aisle completely, she felt an overwhelming urge to look back one last time, as if something was pulling her attention toward it. Asterisk when she turned. She thought she saw something low to the ground, shifting slightly between the shelves in a way that didn't seem natural or human. It was only there for a split second, almost blending into the shadows, but enough to make her freeze. She blinked, trying to focus, but whatever it was had already disappeared, leaving the aisle looking completely empty again. Outside, the situation escalated quickly as the store was sealed off within minutes. Police cars arrived, their flashing lights reflecting off the glass doors, illuminating the anxious faces of the people gathered outside. No one was allowed to go back in, and the employees refused to answer any questions, avoiding eye contact and speaking only in short, unclear responses. Strangely, the security guard who had rushed into aisle 3 earlier was nowhere to be seen. By the next day, everything had returned to normal as if nothing unusual had ever happened. The supermarket reopened, the shelves were perfectly organized, and there was no sign of the scattered items or broken glass from the night before. But Emily couldn't shake the memory of what she had experienced: the unnatural cold, the dragging sound, and the brief, unsettling movement she thought she saw. Whatever happened in all 3 was never explained, and deep down she couldn't help but feel that it was still there, hidden, silent, and waiting for someone else to notice.